75% of gasoline sold in the US does not have the detergents that keep engines clean. This is why millions of cars break down each year from carbon buildup. I'll reveal 13 gasoline brands you should never ever use. And at the end, I'll show you 5 that actually improve and protect your engine. The same ones my Toyota Camry used to hit 300,000 miles without failure. Let's start with number 13, Sunoco Regular Grade. Now, this one hurts to say because Sunoco's name is big in racing. You see it plastered all over NASCAR, so folks assume all their fuel is high quality. But here's the truth. That racing fuel is nothing like what you're getting at the pump. Their regular grade gas is a whole different story. I've seen more engine deposits and knock issues from Sunoco's regular unleaded than almost any other major brand. Tests from consumer watchdog groups showed that their base grade fuel often falls short on detergents, the very stuff that keeps injectors clean. Some stations even failed state inspections for off-spec ethanol blends and water contamination. In 2016, Sunoco paid fines after the EPA found several locations selling fuel that didn't meet clean air standards. That's not a minor slip. That's your engine breathing garbage. And while their premium and race blends might shine, their regular gas just doesn't belong in modern engines. It burns dirty, runs rough, and leaves buildup fast. And just when you think that's bad enough, the next brand makes Sunoco look like premium stuff. Number 12, Amoco. This one surprises a lot of folks. They hear Amoco and think it's a trusted old school brand. But here's the truth. Since BP brought it back, Amoco's fuel is basically BP regular gas under a different name. The problem? Their regular blends have been criticized for weak detergent levels compared to top-tier brands like Chevron or Shell. EPA records even show complaints about Amoco fuel causing carbon buildup in modern direct injection engines. When that happens, your car starts losing power, idling rough, and burning more fuel. I've seen it firsthand. Engines with just 60,000 miles running like they've done 150,000 because of dirty valves and injectors. And despite the marketing, Amoco fuel isn't always top-tier certified depending on the station. Some locations use older storage tanks that can leak moisture into the fuel over time. That's bad news for your fuel pump and injectors. The name might sound classy, but don't let nostalgia fool you. It's not the Amoco from back in the day. And believe me, the next one is practically a ghost brand that's still haunting drivers. Number 11, Hess Legacy Stations. Here's a brand that's living on borrowed time. After Hess sold off their retail operations, many stations kept the old signs, but everything underneath changed. The fuel quality, that went out the door with the original management. Most of these legacy locations now buy from whoever gives them the cheapest deal, and that means zero consistency. I've had loyal Hess customers come in confused. They've been filling up at the same station for years, and suddenly their engine's acting like it's got a bad flu. Rough starts, hesitation under load, even misfires that pop the check engine light. When we drain the tank and test what's inside, it's often contaminated with moisture or loaded with sediment from neglected underground tanks. Here's what they don't tell you. Those familiar green and white signs don't mean anything anymore. The fuel sourcing changed, the maintenance standards dropped, and nobody's checking if those tanks are even clean. You're essentially buying from a ghost brand that's coasting on a reputation it no longer deserves. But if you think riding on past glory is bad, the next brand built its entire empire on convenience over quality. Number 10, 7-Eleven Gas. You'd think a big name like that would care about what goes into their pumps, right? Not really. Most folks don't realize 7-Eleven doesn't refine its own fuel. They buy from whatever local supplier gives the cheapest deal that week. One station could be decent, and the next one down the road might be pure junk. There's zero consistency. That's a nightmare for your engine. I've had customers swear their car ran fine until they filled up at a 7-Eleven. Next thing you know, rough idle, hesitation, poor mileage. Some even reported their car knocking on acceleration. That's a sign of low-quality fuel or water contamination. There have been multiple reports over the years of 7-Eleven stations selling gas tainted with too much ethanol or sediment from old underground tanks. In a few cases, state inspectors shut pumps down after finding off-spec fuel. When the gas you sell can damage injectors and fuel pumps, that's not just careless, it's reckless. The few pennies you save there can turn into hundreds in repair bills later. Trust me, cheap gas isn't worth it. But if you think that's inconsistent, the next brand is so under the radar, most drivers don't even know it exists. Number 9, Getty. This one's sneaky because it flies completely under the radar. Getty stations are scattered mostly across the northeast, tucked into corners where nobody's really paying attention. And that's the problem. When nobody's watching, quality goes straight out the window. Their fuel sourcing is a complete mystery. No top-tier certification, no detergent guarantees, nothing. I've worked on engines that ran exclusively on Getty gas for just a few months. The carbon buildup looked like years of neglect. Intake valves coated thick with black deposits, injectors gummed up so bad they barely sprayed, and combustion chambers that looked like they'd been painted with tar. That's what happens when your fuel doesn't have proper cleaning agents. Your engine chokes slowly, mile by mile. Here's the kicker. Getty doesn't advertise, doesn't invest in better additive packages, and doesn't seem interested in meeting modern engine requirements. They just exist, selling bare minimum fuel to folks who stop there out of pure convenience. And when convenience is your only selling point, your engine's the one paying the price. And speaking of convenience, the next category is everywhere, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Number 8, local grocery store gas stations. Here's the thing about pumps at your local supermarket. They're designed to get you in and out fast, not to protect your engine. These stations, whether it's at a regional grocery chain or a small town market, source their fuel from the absolute cheapest distributors they can find. That means no consistency, no quality control, and definitely no top-tier detergents. I've seen so many engines damaged by this stuff. It's not even funny. People think they're smart, saving a nickel per gallon while grabbing groceries. But what they don't see is the carbon piling up inside their engine. Sticky valves, clogged injectors, rough idles that start showing up around 40,000 miles instead of 140,000. These stations rarely maintain their underground tanks properly. They're focused on moving eggs and milk, not ensuring fuel quality. So you get moisture contamination, sediment buildup, and fuel that's been sitting in those tanks way too long. When you pump that into your car, you're basically asking for problems. Sure, it's convenient to fuel up while you shop, but your engine doesn't care about convenience. It cares about clean fuel. But if you think grocery store gas is sketchy, the next brand claims to be something it's not. Number 7, Speedway. It looks like a solid choice. Bright lights, clean stations, big name. But don't let that fool you. Their gas often comes from mixed local suppliers, and that means you never really know what's going into your tank. I've worked on plenty of engines that ran on Speedway fuel for years. The pattern's always the same. Carbon buildup on valves, sluggish throttle, poor fuel economy. When we test the gas, it's usually low on detergents. That's bad news because detergents are what keep your engine clean. Without them, that carbon turns into sludge fast. There's more. In 2020, some Speedway stations were caught selling fuel with high water content after heavy rain. Drivers filled up, drove a mile or two, and their cars started sputtering or wouldn't start at all. Water and gas don't mix. It rusts the fuel system and kills pumps. Speedway also isn't top-tier certified, which says a lot. They meet the bare minimum standards. Nothing more. That's not what I'd call performance fuel. So yeah, the brand looks polished on the outside, but what's in those pumps tells a different story. And the next brand is tied to one of the biggest retail chains in America, and their fuel problems run even deeper. Number 6, Kroger fuel centers. You'll find these right next to Kroger stores all across the country. Convenient, sure, but not exactly trustworthy when it comes to fuel quality. Kroger built their gas station model around one thing: getting customers to spend their fuel points and shop more. And when your whole focus is on loyalty points instead of fuel quality, something's got to give. Usually, it's the detergent package. I've seen plenty of problems tied to this fuel. Rough idling, sputtering under load, even early fuel injector failure. Drivers think their car is getting old. Nope, it's just running on low-grade gas. According to fuel sample data from multiple states, Kroger's detergent levels often fall short of top-tier standards, and their ethanol content can fluctuate more than it should. That inconsistency messes with fuel trims and burns dirty. Multiple consumer reports have shown that Kroger fuel centers source from whoever gives them the best regional deal. That means one location might have decent fuel, while another 3 miles away is selling garbage. There's no consistency. And when you're feeding your engine mystery fuel week after week, you're rolling the dice every single time. Cheap gas might save you a few cents with those fuel points, but your engine's paying the price every mile. And just wait. The next brand pretends to be built for performance, yet it's one of the most inconsistent I've ever tested. Number 5, RaceTrac. The name sounds fast, doesn't it? Like it's fuel made for performance. But that's pure marketing smoke. RaceTrac built its reputation on flashy stores and competitive pricing, not on what's actually coming out of their pumps. Their fuel sourcing is all over the map, literally. They buy from regional suppliers, which means quality varies wildly from state to state, sometimes even station to station. I've had multiple customers report the same pattern. They fill up at RaceTrac, and within a day or two, their car starts running rough. Hesitation on acceleration, poor throttle response, sometimes even a check engine light for lean fuel conditions or misfires. When we pull the codes and inspect the fuel system, we find weak fuel pressure, clogged filters, or injectors that are already starting to gum up. Here's what really gets me. RaceTrac isn't top-tier certified. They meet the legal minimum for detergents, and that's it. For a brand that uses racing imagery and performance marketing, that's false advertising in my book. Your engine needs real protection, not a fancy logo and a catchy name. If you're buying RaceTrac because you think it's performance fuel, you're being fooled, and your engine's the one suffering for it. But if you think misleading marketing is bad, the next brand is everywhere, and their inconsistency is legendary. Number 4, Circle K. This one's sneaky because it's everywhere. You see that bright red sign and think it's a big, reliable brand. But Circle K doesn't make its own fuel either. They buy whatever's cheapest from local distributors. That means your engine becomes a test subject for whatever mystery blend they got that week. I've seen engines gummed up after months of Circle K fill-ups. Sticky injectors, carbon-coated valves, misfires that come and go like ghosts. When we run a bore scope inside the cylinders, you can literally see the black deposits sitting on the piston tops. That's from weak detergents. Plain and simple. In 2020, several Circle K stations across the South were fined for water-contaminated fuel that damaged dozens of vehicles. Some drivers couldn't even make it home after filling up. The company blamed it on delivery issues. That's a poor excuse when you're running a national brand. And hey, if you've ever had rough idling or stalling right after a fill-up, hit that like button and drop your experience in the comments. It helps more drivers avoid this kind of mess. Don't forget to subscribe. We're exposing the next brand, and this one has a reputation that doesn't match reality. Number 3, Gulf. This brand carries a name with history. That orange and blue logo used to mean something in American motoring. But here's the reality. Gulf Oil doesn't operate like it used to. Most Gulf stations today are independently owned franchises that source fuel from regional suppliers. That means the quality you get depends entirely on which distributor that particular owner chose to save money with. I've worked on vehicles that were loyal to Gulf for years. The owners swore by the brand because their grandfather used it, but their engines told a different story. Valves covered in carbon deposits, fuel injectors spraying inconsistent patterns, and combustion chambers that looked like they'd been running on kerosene. That's not nostalgia. That's neglect. Gulf Fuel isn't top-tier certified at most locations. Some independent stations might carry better blends, but you're gambling every time you pull up to the pump. And when fuel quality is a coin flip, your engine loses. The brand might have heritage, but heritage doesn't clean your valves or protect your injectors. And believe me, the next brand's problems go way deeper than just weak fuel. Number 2, Citgo. Now here's a brand with some serious baggage. Citgo is owned by Venezuela's state oil company, which means the profits from your fill-up aren't staying in America. But politics aside, let's talk about what really matters. The fuel quality, and it's not good. Citgo stations source their fuel from a mix of domestic and imported crude, and the refining standards can be all over the place. I've seen more contamination issues with Citgo than almost any other brand. Water in the fuel, sediment from poorly maintained tanks, ethanol content that's higher than advertised. It's a mess. In multiple states, Citgo stations have been flagged by inspectors for selling off-spec fuel. Some locations were temporarily shut down after customers reported vehicle damage. And the worst part? The company's response is always the same. Blame the franchisee, blame the distributor, never take accountability. I've pulled apart engines that ran exclusively on Citgo fuel. The carbon buildup was severe, injectors were clogged, and fuel pumps were failing prematurely. When your fuel doesn't meet proper standards, Your engine pays for it mile after mile. Citgo isn't top-tier certified, and frankly, I wouldn't trust their fuel in any vehicle I cared about. But if you think Citgo is bad, buckle up. The next brand's track record is even worse. Number 1, Marathon. This one takes the top spot for a reason, and it's not a good one. Marathon Petroleum is one of the largest refiners in America, but that doesn't mean their retail fuel is quality. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Marathon stations have been linked to more fuel contamination complaints than almost any other major brand. I'm talking about water in gas tanks, sediment-clogging fuel filters, and ethanol levels that don't match what's advertised on the pump. In 2019 alone, multiple Marathon locations across the Midwest and South were investigated after clusters of vehicle breakdowns. Drivers filled up, drove a few miles, and their engines started knocking, misfiring, or dying completely. When state inspectors tested the fuel, they found contamination levels that were off the charts. Some tanks had microbial growth. Others had water content so high the fuel looked cloudy. That's not just poor maintenance, that's negligence. I've seen the damage firsthand. Fuel pumps destroyed, injectors melted, catalytic converters clogged with unburned fuel, and the repair bills, thousands of dollars, all because someone wanted to save 3 cents per gallon. Marathon fuel often isn't top-tier certified, which means minimal detergents and maximum carbon buildup. Their stations are everywhere, which makes them convenient. But convenience means nothing when your engine's being destroyed from the inside out. This brand has the infrastructure, the refining capacity, and the name recognition. What they don't have is a commitment to quality fuel, and that makes them the worst choice on this list. But here's the good news. Not every brand plays dirty. Some actually go above and beyond to protect your engine. Let's talk about the 5 gasoline brands that actually protect your engine. Number 5, Costco Gasoline. Most folks think warehouse gas means cheap and low quality, but Costco flips that idea on its head. Their fuel is top-tier certified, meaning it meets the same high detergent standards as Chevron or Shell. In fact, independent lab tests have shown Costco gas often has more cleaning additives than many name-brand fuels. I've seen plenty of high-mileage cars that run on Costco fuel with zero buildup issues. Their secret is simple. They move so much fuel that it's always fresh, and they keep their storage tanks spotless. Clean tanks mean clean gas, and clean gas means a happy engine. You get top-notch quality and still pay less per gallon. That's rare. The only downside, you need a membership. But if you're already shopping there, filling up your tank is a no-brainer. And next up, another heavy hitter that takes fuel cleaning seriously. Number 4, Shell. Shell's fuel is one of the few that actually fights engine buildup instead of just slowing it down. Their nitrogen-enriched cleaning system forms a protective barrier inside your engine that helps stop carbon and gunk from sticking to metal parts. It's like armor for your valves and injectors. Cars running on Shell for years still show clean combustion chambers and smooth idle. The consistency is what really stands out. Every Shell station follows strict top-tier standards, so you know exactly what you're getting no matter where you fill up. It's not the cheapest fuel on the block, but you can feel the difference in throttle response and overall performance. I've torn down engines with 180,000 miles that ran mostly on Shell, clean intake valves, injectors that spray like new, and combustion chambers that look like they've got half that mileage. And if Shell's protection impressed you, wait until you hear about the next brand. It's what real fuel should be. Number 3, Chevron with Techron. Now this is what real fuel should be. Chevron's Techron formula isn't just a gimmick. It's one of the strongest detergent blends ever approved by automakers. It scrubs carbon off your valves, pistons, and injectors while you drive. I've torn down engines with over 150,000 miles that ran mostly on Chevron gas. Clean as a whistle inside. Techron keeps fuel systems running smooth by preventing that sticky buildup that kills mileage and power over time. It's also top-tier certified, meaning it meets and often beats the standards car makers recommend. That's why mechanics and performance drivers trust it. Sure, it costs a few cents more per gallon, but you'll save far more in repairs down the road. If you want your engine to last, this is the kind of gas that helps it breathe easy. And the next brand might surprise you. It's a name that's been around forever, but doesn't get enough credit. Number 2, Sinclair. Here's a brand that flies under the radar, but it absolutely shouldn't. Sinclair stations might not have the marketing budget of Shell or Chevron, but their fuel quality speaks for itself. They're top-tier certified across the board, and their detergent package is engineered specifically for modern engines. I've seen vehicles with 200,000 plus miles that ran on Sinclair their entire life. The engines looked like they had half that mileage. Clean injectors, minimal carbon deposits, and smooth performance across the board. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when a company prioritizes fuel quality over profit margins. Sinclair fuel is especially good in extreme climates. Their winter blends prevent fuel line freeze, and their summer formulations resist vapor lock in high heat. They've been in the fuel business for over 100 years, and they've learned what works. If you've got a Sinclair near you, use it. Your engine will thank you. But if you think Sinclair is good, wait till you hear about the #1 brand. It's the cleanest, most protective fuel I've ever worked with. Number 1, Valero. This one tops the list for a reason. Valero isn't just selling fuel, they're selling engine protection. Their detergent package is one of the most aggressive in the industry, designed not just to prevent carbon buildup, but to actually remove existing deposits over time. I've seen engines that switched to Valero after years on cheap gas. Within a few tanks, the idle smoothed out, throttle response came back, and fuel economy improved. It's like giving your engine a professional cleaning with every fill-up. Valero is top-tier certified, which means they meet strict standards from automakers. But they don't just meet those standards, they exceed them. Their fuel consistently tests higher in detergent content than what's required, and that extra protection makes all the difference. I've torn down engines with 250,000 miles that ran exclusively on Valero. The intake valves looked nearly spotless. Injectors sprayed clean patterns. Combustion chambers had minimal deposits. That's the kind of protection that adds years and thousands of miles to your engine's life. Yes, it costs a bit more than discount gas, but your engine will thank you. Clean valves, better combustion, smoother performance. It's worth every penny. If you care about long-term engine health, this is the fuel you want in your tank. You might be using good fuel now, but are you still believing lies about how to use it? Some fuel tips people swear by are killing their engines slowly. Click below. I'll expose the myths that make smart drivers look stupid.